What up, fam? Tuesday night, Birds of a Feather, coming to you live from the Real Talk Studios on A2DRadio.com, Twitter, Periscope, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Again, happy to be back on YouTube. We're with the YouTube fam. Chrome, Kevin Godwin, Chris Borgeson. I was going to mess it up. That's why I didn't do it.
Say that 10 times fast.
Chris Borgeson, latest addition, acquisition to the A2D family. He's here with us. He is that Eagles fan. He's going to be joining us tonight in place of Chucks, who decided to get married and make that decision. Whatever. No, I'm kidding. Congrats again to Chucks. We love him. He has a wonderful now wife, which he'll probably be excited to hear that. I'm sure he's still getting used to that. I believe they're on their honeymoon, so congratulations to them. I hope they enjoy themselves. And Mr. Ryan Brodo is here back on the ones and twos after Crumb Ralphie filled in last week.
I apologize in his behalf.
Yeah, well,
I apologize.
You know, the fam liked the Squeaky Boys guy.
Yeah, I heard.
He did okay.
They
were
a fan.
Yeah, he did
got
all right.
a solid C-. I'll give him a solid C-.
Yeah. I mean, that's a pretty solid grade there.
Yeah, it's good.
We're brought to you by Gibson Mayer LLC, our certified public accountants. Make them yours, GibsonMayer.com, as well as Specialized Physical Therapy. You can find them on the web, SpecializedPhysicalTherapy.com. You need a physical location to go check them out, Burlington, Cherry Hill, and Princeton, New Jersey. Our Scanzano Sports topic of conversation tonight here on A2D. Agree or disagree, Dallas Goedert will be the tight end one by season's end. We're going to talk to you, fam. We're going to dive in. We're going to talk about the Eagles' preseason game against the Tennessee Titans. Who cares about the result? It's about what we saw specifically in that first half. We're going to talk about around the league some points. We got Dak in
I don't even understand.
You hate to say it.
Can't even say with a straight face.
I love it. It's ridiculous. Dak asking for $40 million. You know, we got that going on, other things. And, of course, we're going to try to dive into some fantasy football talk because I know a lot of leagues kick off this week and next week. So we'll try to get to some of that as well as our No Huddle. Hey, man, I know Ryan mentioned it. We're going to talk about, at least at the end of the show quickly, the Charlie Manuel back to the Philadelphia Phillies. That was a shocker. The Vegas odds are already very heavily in his favor of being the manager by season's end. It's a comical week here, guys. But anyway, Eagles preseason game. Just off the cuff, real quick, your first takeaways from what you saw. Now, it could be about a specific player, the team as a whole. We already know the Sudfeld thing. We'll talk about that separate. I don't want to dive into that now. Once we get into that rabbit hole, I'm sure panic mode's going to start going in the chat. I don't want to dive into that yet. But if you look at the rookies or whatever, what stood out to you guys in the game? We're going to start with our guest here, Chris.
All right, so what I took away from that game, I was also there.
I was going to say you were there.
With a friend, Birds Over Boys. Check him out.
Cool.
So basically what I saw was a lot of talented depth. I think Howie Roseman, you know, this whole organization is focused on winning a Super Bowl this year and multiple Super Bowls over the next, 3 to 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
So what I think is that you got solid plays from our rookies. You know, the injury thing, that kind of sucked. Everybody did hit the panic button at the stadium. It just kind of like blew up. But then you got to just realize it's not like he, tore an ACL. He didn't do anything life-threatening. Mm-hmm. So I think when you look at the defense, when you look at the offense, you look at the special teams, you saw areas where we can improve. But I think we have the depth and the coaching to be able to just make those minor adjustments and move forward. I think it's really a step in the right direction.
Cool. What do you got?
Yeah, I agree on most of the points. I think that it's definitely it was a good first game, regardless of the score, because obviously it don't matter anyway.
Mm-hmm.
You saw a lot of improvement out of guys that you needed to see play. I think you saw Dillard looks pretty game ready coming in. They're looking at him to be a big star. Hall looked good as a fourth, fifth guy to make the team and make the cut. Gary looks like a big-time player he's going to look to challenge a dominant role for you. And then as far as the Sudfeld thing goes, I believe it was his non-throwing hand, right? That
Non-throwing, correct.
So non-throwing hand, only 68 weeks out. I don't see why there's any panic at all. It's not like you need him in the next 6 to 8 weeks.
We hope.
We hope.
We hope. But yeah. I digress.
And then for me, leans to the poll topic of the night. Goddard looks uncoverable. I mean, the way he ran underneath, and yes, it's preseason, but the Titans did as the Eagles did and played their starting lineups, for that first drive that Goddard was out there. So, to me, to answer the poll question, I think by the end of the season he will be your number one. I think last year they didn't use him enough because of Ertz doing so well. I think the more and more Goddard puts out in this preseason and into the beginning of the regular season, you're going to see that transition start to happen where we can't not have this guy on the field anymore because of the talent that he's bringing to play. I think maybe people would see less of controversy if it was the 1A, 1B thing where I see Sanders and Howard being, but definitely right there as far as playtime goes with Ertz by the end of the year.
See, for me, first of all, J.J. Arcega-Whiteside looked awesome.
Phenomenal.
I mean, that dude's going to be a player. He's tall. He's physical. He's athletic. And I think that he may be he has the potential to be the number one red zone guy in 2 or 3 years from now. So, I mean, he looks a lot like Alshon, pretty close to him already. But I'm really excited to see him. Andre Dillard. Again, I think they made the point, which I agree with during the broadcast, which is the less you hear somebody's name in terms of when you're talking about your tackles and whatnot, the better.
Right.
I thought that he played very well. If you saw over the last 2 days, he's gotten in 3 fights at camp.
Love it.
Because he's fiery. And, I mean, today it was Sharif Miller who started it, but he didn't back down. He got in there, and he wasn't going to put up with anybody's garbage. And I like that fire. They talked about when he was drafted, the work that he puts in. And I think that you see it, and the team is seeing it now. The organization is seeing it. He's a guy, wouldn't shock me if by week 3 he's the starting left tackle. So I was really impressed with him. I know a lot of people were down on Jordan Mailata. I didn't see anything too crazy, but I would have to go back a little bit more. I didn't focus as much on him, even though Ryan knows he is my boy. But I really didn't focus that much on him. But as far as Dallas Goedert goes, I'm going to disagree with the poll question. But this team is all about rotation and keeping guys fresh. And I do think as close to an agree as you could get is possibly a 1A, 1B. Kind of like when you had Gronk and Crum. When those two were on your team,
right.
the murderer. When you guys had those two, they there really wasn't a clear-cut number one because they were both very unique and very talented tight ends who played a little bit of a different style. Obviously, Gronk was the big bruiser, the athletic bruiser, and Aaron Hernandez was a little bit more of the athletic guy. I could see them doing that to where, without the murder part of it, Ertz is a little bit more like Aaron Hernandez,
Right.
and I could see Goddard being that big physical tight end who's athletic. I mean, we saw what he can do for Yak last year. It got called back on incorrectly, but you saw what he can do after he catches the football. He's physical. He runs guys over, and he's got quick feet. So I could see by the season's end more of that. There's no doubt in my mind after watching this game, and he's not going to play anymore in the preseason. So we already kind of know. We've seen what we're going to see. No doubt in my mind, he is going to be more of a part of the offense, which we've been clamoring for the last 2 years. He is going to be more of a part of the offense this year. So that's kind of a lot of my takeaways there. I said your boy's brother had a nice deep touchdown on a starting defensive back. That was a really nice route that he ran. I mean, I thought there was a lot of really positive takeaways from it. The defense played well in the first half, and that's really the only guys who were you're really looking at. The rest are maybe somebody who can sneak in. So
Pumphrey still stinks.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I hate that guy. Why is he still around?
I didn't even know he was around until like 2 weeks ago. And apparently
who
he
we
is.
thought he was.
He is who we thought he was. God, Chucks loves him too. I don't get it.
Shocker. Chucks is on vacation.
Conveniently
so he doesn't
on
have
vacation.
to talk about.
Don't worry, he'll pop in here. he heard running backs. He's
Oh, yeah, it's true.
even in
Alarms are going
Fiji.
off.
Yeah.
And you know what? Before we get into the injury portion of it too, I thought Nate Sudfeld looked really good.
Yeah.
And I wanted to see him take strides. He's, in my opinion, and probably most of ours, he's never going to be a starting quarterback. But I think that he has shown enough progression from 2 years ago to last year, and then it's a small sample size, but what I saw in that first half, that he's making steps forward every year. I mean, it's only his third year.
Yeah.
So, he looked like a guy who could be the backup quarterback to Carson Wentz. Now that Nick Foles has moved on. So
I agree. Yeah, I honestly think, watching him over the years, he's shown like a good grasp of the offense. He's Carson Wentz-like in that he does kind of like want to get out of the pocket, but you can start to see like the cogs turning more. You're starting to see his check downs. He's making smarter throws, not just forcing a throw.
Agreed.
And you know what I mean? Like that's one of the main things with a backup quarterback. You're not here to do. I mean, everybody wants to be a Nick Foles, but let's face it, that's not happening. So I think he's going to be a guy that if we need to win a couple games, and we have the running game, we have the depth of wide receiver, we have the weapons. I think he can get the job done.
I agree. There's a lot of protection for him and a lot of weapons to play with as well. I mean, obviously, he fractured or broke. Was it a clean break or was it a fracture?
I think it was a break.
Okay, which is actually better than a fracture because fractures take longer to heal. 6 weeks, I think they said he's going to be out. Looks like Cody Kessler is going to be the backup quarterback going forward until he's healthy. What do we think? Do we wait and see what becomes available as cuts start to come towards the end of preseason, or are we settling in with Cody Kessler being our backup quarterback?
I think you got to settle with Cody Kessler because the issue is, well, you really have two situations that come up, right? So the hinting towards around the league a little bit later in the show, but the Eagles remind me a lot as far as setup and depth that they take on to the 53-man as the Patriots. So Patriots only ever carry two quarterbacks ever. There was a point when we traded Jimmy G where the only quarterback on the team was Brady. So I think that you have to look at guys like Michelle who ran that scored early on in the game. Do you cut a guy like that to save a third, bring in somebody else just in case because you have those what ifs, or do you keep it at 2 and wait for Sudfeld to come back? Like you have to pick and choose as far as the 53-man goes because you got so much depth everywhere else. Who don't you want on the team in place of having a filler at a backup QB position?
See, I think you still got to be very open-minded and see what becomes available. Some guys end up winning out jobs surprisingly, and you could have some decent talent available. I mean, Cody Kessler is what Cody Kessler is. I don't know that there's going to be anything better out there. I think you got to prep as if that's the way you're moving forward, but you have to be open-minded. You have to be open to seeing what's out. The elephant that's out there, I don't want Colin Kaepernick. Has nothing to do with anything, and I've said this since we came on in 2017. I have always thought that Colin Kaepernick stinks. Maybe he could be a little bit better in this offense. Outside of the Super Bowl year, I felt like he was a guy that regressed every year. So that's not a guy who I want on this team.
Yeah,
that's me.
I agree with you.
Nothing to do with the other stuff. I do believe that he should have a job in the league. I just don't want it with my team because I don't feel like he's that guy.
I also don't think he fits. The Eagles don't run that heavy of an option for a quarterback like that.
And I would agree.
That mobile to play with. Plus, how long has he been out of the league now? 3 years?
Like, if I look at him, like an offense where he might fit into would be like a Tennessee Titans or something like that.
Or like maybe Baltimore.
Yeah, I mean,
Those
those
are like Arizona.
San Fran.
San Fran.
all very logical. Well, I don't know. He'll never go back to San Fran at this point. But you're right. You're
teams
right.
that run something like that.
You're absolutely right. But like those teams are teams you hit it spot on where he fits more. There's not enough options for him in that term. So I don't think he's a good enough quarterback to play in this offense?
So what I have, if you want, I can read. I have a list. This was as of a couple days ago, the available free agent quarterbacks. If you want, it can just be a simple yes or no.
Sure. Run through.
So we already did the obvious one. We'll move on from that. Josh McCown, who's technically retired, but he's apparently open to coming back in the right situation.
No.
Probably not.
Matt Castle.
No.
Geno Smith.
No.
Mark Sanchez.
Sanchez. No, I'm good, thanks.
Dirty Sanchez. No.
Now, this is a popular
I'll be honest.
name.
I thought when Sanchez was the backup quarterback, I'm going to be the guy to say it. I thought Tebow should have won the job over him.
Agreed.
At that time.
This is a name that's been popular the last week ever since the Sudfeld injury. Josh Johnson, who we saw in Week 17 with the Redskins. No, he threw like 4 interceptions. Like, no. He can run a little bit, but no. Brock Osweiler. That's like the best one, and that's not good.
I'd rather
If those are if what you've read so far is your only options, I would lean yes because I think he's in the same breath as like other quarterbacks out there, like a Foles, who's a system back, where you can create a playbook for him for a limited time.
Talking about Brock?
Yeah.
And he has a lot of games under his belt.
Yeah.
He's played a lot of games. Not good ones, but he's played. Brandon Whedon.
No.
Remember 4 years ago when he had to be the starter for Dallas? That was a great year. Not for us, but just watching it.
Hate to say it.
Hate to
Hate to
see
say it.
Trayvon Boykin.
No, I'm good.
I don't even know who the hell that
Yeah,
is.
right.
Should I know who that is?
I wasn't even going to pretend. I don't know who that guy is.
Landry Jones.
No.
And last but certainly not least, our old friend, Mr. Sleeves, Mr. Sam Bradford.
No, I'm good, thanks.
What a joke.
He's not.
I'll say
He might get her on the plane over here.
I'll say this. Of that list, I agree with you. Brock Osweiler is probably the most that I would consider. And I'll even say this. And this is not me changing my mind on how he would fit. This is how little I think of everybody else on the list.
Mm-hmm.
I would take Kaepernick over any of those quarterbacks.
Ooh, go on.
Any of them, except for Brock Osweiler. But I wouldn't take any of them, including Brock Osweiler at this point. Honestly, at this point, I will roll with Cody Kessler for a couple weeks.
Same.
Yeah. We figure it's 6 to 8 weeks that he's out. What does that lead? 2 weeks that he misses regular season?
And the one thing, too, is it's key when the injury has taken place. You don't want this being after the season starts or right up on, to where, you have to worry then, if this was preseason game number 4, you got a bigger problem.
Right.
Because now you're running 6 to 8 games into the season. At least now it's a little bit early. Hopefully Carson stays healthy. And it's a non-issue anyway. But
Greg would really like some Brock lobster. That's what he says. He said he got the Broncos to the playoffs so Peyton could get his second ring. Well done, Brock.
That defense got them to the playoffs.
We
Wow.
forgot that part. We forgot that part.
yeah, let's go through the you mind doing the YouTube for me?
I will happily do that.
All right, let me get through the Facebook. Andy says, my dude's Chrome looks like a rejected Lucky Charms marshmallow. Shut up. You're
He critiques outfits. That's all he does.
Sheesh.
Brodo might be as skilled on the ones and twos as David Otunga calling a match.
You really
Ooh.
don't have a producer, Andy, so you really aren't educated in that subject.
He doesn't even know.
No, you don't even know.
Rosca says, let's go Rams. Peter Evans, yo, what up, Peter? Peter's on Friday nights.
What's up, Pete?
Philly Sports Guys, one half of the Friday Night Delights. Jake Friel from the Weekly Roundup says, what up, my boys? Disagree with the poll. Goddard won't be tight end number 1 for another 2 years, in my opinion. If it becomes I agree with him in that if it ends up just being a clear-cut thing, then yes, I think he's about 2 years out from taking over that job. I do not believe they're going to re-sign Zach Ertz when his contract is up.
Well, that's the issue. Is it becomes a price tag. How
I
much?
think Zach Ertz is going to cost a lot of money.
Succession plan.
Exactly.
Yep.
Andy says, I'm going to agree to the poll just because I don't know any better and I like going against the grain sometimes. Ralph Delavecchio, what it do, baby? What up, Ralph? What the fuck is that, Ralph?
What?
What it do, baby?
It's a Kawhi Leonard.
That's
Oh.
what
He's
that's
still
what they say in
upset.
Crumville.
I got you. Okay. I was like, what are you doing? What are you doing, Ralph? Jesus. Nicholas John Parks, what did I miss? Not much. Eagles.
And more Eagles.
Peter Evans, poll didn't come up for me. What was it? I guess he'll catch up on it. Greg says, what's up, my boys? Disagree with the poll, but there will be a lot of touches to go around. Agree. Kevin, my guy. for Ralph for you. That's not good if Ralph likes you, though.
Run.
Frank
now.
says, hey, yo, sorry to bother you at work. I heard that Fiji is a nice place. That's where Chucks is at.
Good for him.
I told him he's got to bring us back Fiji water, man.
Yes.
For real.
It's
like
official
that, I want
now.
that legit stuff.
It's official.
To answer the poll, I have to disagree. He'll be the future tight end one, just not this season. Dion Brown, what's good, fellas? What up, Dion?
What's up, Dion?
I disagree with the poll question. He'll only be number one if Ertz. No, I'm not saying those words. At some point, hopefully not. That's how I see it. We already made a commitment. We're not going to put that out into the universe.
Nope.
What else we got here? Peter Evans agrees with the poll question. Dion says Andre Dillard played very well. Still a lot of football to see as far as the preseason goes for him. But he thought he was a bright spot. Oh, and L.J. Fort played well at linebacker also.
He did do good.
Mm-hmm.
He did do
Yeah.
good.
Roska's throwing wrestling stuff out there. Make sure you check out In This Very Ring, brother, this weekend. They'll talk that with you. We're back next week. Peter Evans responding to the wrestling thing. Says best of that night. And then Andy, like the crumb he is, cheap plugs his show in here. I'm going to plug it for you. Ralph Delavecchia says Brady is the GOAT. By the way, Nick Foles stinks. Oh, here we go, Ralph.
Disrespectful.
Does anyone think Brett Savage says, does anyone think that anyone will break Brady? He asks this question every week, right? No. He asked us that last week, too. Aaron Hernandez was such a killer on the field. That was from Greg Molakovic.
Agreed.
I see what he did there.
Peter Evans says one thing for sure. Dak ain't worth no $40 million a year. Will Hill. Ralph says Dak should get the $40 million, to be honest. I agree with you.
I agree.
Brock Lobster. He got it's the comment you read. Dion says, out of all those names, if the Eagles do move for another quarterback, I'd welcome Brock. Kessler isn't that good, and Thorson isn't ready whatsoever. Andy says, I do, too, have a producer. He's just been off the last few weeks due to gearing up for a baby. So he goes from taking care of one baby to taking care of another. That's great. But I will admit, and I have in the past, Brodo is the best producer in the company. There you
don't pander to me
Kissing
now.
your ass now.
Don't. I mean, thank you. Appreciate it.
Delavecchia says, Nick Foles is scared of Carson. Heard that dude isn't playing this Thursday. He don't want no smoke.
No, he doesn't.
Good stuff. What do you got over there on the tube, Mr. Brodo?
So we start off with David letting us know that he's going to double dip on both YouTube and Facebook, as he always does.
No problem,
so
buddy. Go for it.
D-Love 120798, the longest name in YouTube history.
What's up, D-Love?
Let's go, guys. Says what's up.
What up?
Cassius Cliff says what it do, fellas. So I guess
What up, Cassius?
is he a Kawhi Leonard guy too?
Has he been?
It's contagious. Are you
hanging out
hanging
with
around,
Chrome?
Ralph?
I've just never heard Ralph say that before, which is why I was like, what are you doing, Ralph? He's a crumb. He's still butthurt that he didn't get Kawhi.
Yeah, it has a lasting effect on him. Brandon Meyer says Sam Bradford is trash.
Yes.
Agreed.
D-Love says, to be honest, who cares? Wentz is healthy, knock on wood.
Yeah.
You're right.
with you.
Cassius says the
I
panic.
have a feeling that 6 to 8 weeks is going to go by really fast, and it's going to be irrelevant anyway.
Mm-hmm. When especially most of it is preseason.
Correct.
You know what I mean?
That's what we were talking about. The timing of it is as ideal as you could possibly get in terms of an actual game injury.
Mm-hmm. Cassius says the panic about a backup is really baffling. If Carson goes down, the season is over, period. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, do we – like, I'll ask you guys this question. And if it's yes, cool. I mean, we saw it with another backup quarterback. If Nate Sudfeld has to come in and save the season –
It's done.
And
If
people
it's
argue there's a better roster this year, but I still don't.
If it's a major injury, I would say it's probably – I mean, they might
I would
make
wrap it up. The season's done.
I mean, they might make a wild card maybe,
Yeah.
depending on the point of the injury and how much groundwork Carson's already laid. But they're not going to get anywhere once the playoffs fire up.
For me, it would have to be, if anything, for God happens to Wentz and he does go down, it would be where does he go down at? And are they already pretty much locked up like he gift wrapped the season to Foles where, he kind of walked in. I mean, not necessarily walked in, but it was pretty much already set that they were going to at least be a wild card team. So it would depend on where they fall. But I would put a lot of it on Doug Peterson. I mean, he created such a great playbook for Foles, and you saw what he did with it. I think the same thing could be done for Sudfeld. I think that if need be, if you already got a shot and it's, you have to go for it if you're already in the playoffs, I think it can be done.
Yeah, and I think, too, you saw what Doug had to do was essentially he had to take certain schemes from Chip's offense that worked for Nick Foles and kind of make like a makeshift scheme to basically manufacture something around Foles for success. I don't care what anybody says. Agree if you guys agree with me or not. If Carson went down 3 or 4 weeks earlier, we were not winning the Super Bowl.
No.
No, there's no chance
because
we were winning
we wouldn't
the Super
have
Bowl.
had
Agreed.
home field.
No,
we wouldn't have had home
We would
field.
not have had home field. And I mean, again, Foles gave us 10 of the greatest quarters we're ever going to see in this franchise's history, if not probably the greatest quarters we're ever going to see in this franchise's history. That being said, I do not believe over long term he would have been able to sustain that. We're going to find out this year if he can. But he doesn't have the weapons he had here then either in Jacksonville. So
No.
A couple more over
I wish him all
here.
the success, though. That is not Nick Foles hating. I love number 9.
Cassius says more than that, we would have a certified injury-prone quarterback that's guaranteed $100+ million. FPatros says without Sudfeld, we may very well end up losing all preseason games, and it wouldn't be something to be worried about. No quarterback, no party. Yeah, I mean preseason.
No, yeah,
We went 4-0 in the preseason with Bradford, and you saw how that ended up.
I never look at preseason results. It's more about just seeing what you see on the field with the guys who you know are going to make the football team. And some of the guys who later in preseason who become some standouts who are fringe guys, you look at that. Other than that, the end result doesn't mean anything. It really doesn't. They don't
if you
coach. They don't coach the game like they're coaching.
Exactly.
They're situationally coaching. It's like when you're in baseball in preseason or in spring training. These guys, they might be down 10 runs, but they're sending them with an approach of like, hey, act like you're down. You got 2 guys on, second and third. Take the approach as if there's 1 out and it's a 2-run game, and you got a chance to tie the game or go ahead. They're not coaching it as if this is a regular season game.
They have a whole different playbook. It's
Exactly.
not even the same. They're experimenting. They're trying to figure out what works, what doesn't, who's good, what's not. They're going to plug and play.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
As far as your first and second team guys that you're just looking to see either A, situational play, or B, where they at full speed compared to in the camp. Perfect example. I know that we're going to get into a little bit later, but first drive of the game, Baker Mayfield came out and ran a 2-minute offense. No huddle the whole way, scored. There was, I believe, 98-yard drive or something along those lines. That's not going to happen again. And and they game plan for it. Nobody comes out in the beginning of a game and marches like that on purpose, unless that's the way your whole offense is run. And then as far as the Ravens go,
And we've seen what offenses like
Yeah.
that over the season are like gas out
And-
real quick.
yeah. And then as far as the Ravens go, Lamar Jackson came out. He had 3 drives, 2 touchdowns, never ran the ball once. That's not happening in the regular season
No, it's
either.
not. No, absolutely not. They're not going to coach the same way. They're going to scheme it differently. You're absolutely right. It's plug and play. This is what these guys can do. Let's see what they can do in game action. That's it.
A couple more over here on the tube. Cassius says Brock is not only trash, but he is big trash.
Well, they're all big trash. So
And finally, Todd Womack chimes in. Philly Dilly, guys. What's up, Todd?
Philly
And he
Dilly,
says-
what up,
going on?
Todd?
And he says, God, I love Howie Roseman. He's putting the squeeze on the Cowgirls, meaning with all these contract negotiations. We didn't waste time. We didn't waste time.
No, and you see why. Because if Dak gets his contract extension, and I'm not saying Carson was going to ask for $40 million, but if he gets his contract extension, you're probably paying more money to Carson at this point. The Eagles, Howie goes in and he handles his business. He doesn't worry about anybody else's business. He goes in and gets it done. Jerry sits back, and now all these guys are signing. We talk about, God forbid, if Melvin Gordon ends up getting an extension before Zeke. Oh, my God. They're really done then. And I have a feeling that may happen
It might.
before. And you talk about jacking the prices up. Jerry's sitting back and waiting way too long on these things. And by the way, I don't disagree with Jerry Jones for not giving Zeke.
Right.
We talked about this last week on the show.
Okay.
You got 2 years left on your deal. Yeah, you may have won 2 rushing titles, but how many times have you been suspended and had off-the-field issues at the same time in a 3-year time span?
It's the Le'Veon Bell thing again.
But the difference was Le'Veon did it in a contract year, though.
Well, yes, but the reason why I say it's the Le'Veon Bell,
He-
you're
I-
right.
He had the suspension with the weed and all that.
Well, it's the whole thing, and we argued with Chucks about it for nearly 2 years.
Right.
It was the guy wanted guarantees, but could never supply guarantees to
Correct.
his team. So it's the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have a leg to stand on when you're 2 years out from your deal.
Correct.
And as we talked about last week, even a lot of the former players who talked on television said, normally we take the player's side, but he's still got 2 years left on the deal. And he's had issues off the field. He's got to at least prove himself this year before he has a leg to stand on for next year.
I think that's where, you look at the NFL as a business, and you have to look at these players as businessmen. They're about their money just like the owners are.
Sure.
And what they're going to do is, 2 years, how many more times are you going to get in trouble? Am I going to throw money out the window right now? Are you going to get hurt? You never know these things. And I think, looking at the Dak Prescott situation as well, he's looking at the Wentz situation saying, I don't have an injury problem, X, Y, and Z, and then you guys need me. But that kind of speaks to your character as well. I think I don't think he's worth it.
No,
I don't think he's
he's
worth
not a $40 million quarterback. But he's not even close to a $40 million quarterback.
What is he worth? 25?
I don't even know if I give him 25. Maybe 18 to 20. I think is reasonable.
I could see that.
I think your issue around the league is you mentioned all the field stuff. It's the team as a whole, right? You have to look at character and the environment that the team set up. If you look at Brady, he up until this year where he got it renegotiated, he was making 18. There was 20 quarterbacks in the league making more money than Tom Brady, who is arguably the greatest quarterback of all time.
And still playing at that level.
And 20 years in. So not only you're saying, hey, we know what you're proven more than just off of a rookie contract. We know that you have no injuries because you've been doing it for 20 years and only been injured once, and takes pay cuts just to be on a winning team. Whereas the Cowboys build up this persona where we're going to say we're better than everybody. That way your players get that aspect. And now you've got three guys in Amari Cooper, who you resurrected his career. You've got Dak and Zeke all asking for top-level money and nothing towards the team. When do you say, hey, Zeke, you take a cut, I'll take a cut being Dak. We'll both be on the team. Everybody gets paid. We win a Super Bowl.
I think they
Why
need
is
a
that not
culture
happening?
shock. They really need a culture shock down there. I think Doug Peterson came in. He said, guys, we are a team, and I feel like all these players have their back. I feel like the Cowboys, everybody's looking out for themselves. And I feel like that's going to show on the field, too. People are going to start, pulling Odell Beckhams and, throwing trash cans and stuff. It's going to implode.
Yeah, I mean, in this city, we like to overanalyze things and it ends up half the time we try to run guys out of town. People had a problem with the Carson Wentz extension. Listen, we know the guy has an injury history. Guy also had an MVP caliber year before he got hurt. His rookie year, he was healthy the entire season and was the reason that they won as much as they did. You look at a guy like that who has a track record and has been hurt, but then you look at Dak, who has won one playoff game. They've been favored every season to win the division, and they have not been able to get over the hump. He has that rookie year to ride on, and I feel like he's still trying to ride that wave. But he's done nothing since then.
He can do nothing without Zeke.
He did nothing with Zeke. And even when Zeke came back, he didn't look the same towards the end of last season. It's baffling to me, but I get it. You kind of hit it right on the head. He's probably looking at it like, well, we hear about Carson Wentz and we hear about all these other young quarterbacks. I've never been hurt. I have a high win percentage in the regular season, which doesn't mean shit if you don't do anything in the postseason.
Exactly.
That's the other question is, I believe right now Wilson's at 35 as the highest paid.
Yeah.
And has
He wants more money than Russell Wilson by $5 million a year.
But the question is, Russell Wilson's been in 2 Super Bowls, won 1, should have won 2 if it wasn't for coaching, in my opinion.
One of the biggest blunders of all time.
And then
That was a flub.
Then you've got a quarterback that says, I think I'm Super Bowl good. I haven't proven it, but I should have Super Bowl money. Pay me now. That's not how it works.
Yeah. No, and do I think he actually believes he's going to get $40 million? No. It's a negotiating point. That being said, do I think he thinks he's going to get 33 or 35 million? Yeah.
I think he wants 35.
Which is insane.
I
It's
think
insane to me.
because we and like you brought up with Russell Wilson, he's been compared to him like a poor man's Russell Wilson. And I read a report a couple hours ago that he's actually seeking the same annual value as Russell Wilson.
35.
Exactly. So then you have to think, and to your point, he wants $5 million more. At least that was the initial report. Not only is that ridiculous, but to expect the same money as Russell Wilson is ridiculous. Like, his best attribute is that he doesn't get hurt. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. He's good enough to, like, get you to the playoffs, but not to win in the playoffs. And I know he's won a playoff game. I get it. But, again, that was also against the Seahawks team that had piss-poor coaching by Pete Carroll.
Yeah.
Awful.
And riddled with injuries.
Yeah, and the Seahawks roster isn't very good.
No.
Not anymore. No.
Yeah, no, it's ridiculous. And I look at him, too. You got a chance to have – they do have a chance to have something special in Big D. You know, they have Amari Cooper. They have Zeke. They have very high-level skilled players
They have a good
on
defense.
both the defense and the offense. You know, they have Van Der Esch in the middle, who I think is an absolute freaking beast.
Mm-hmm.
He's good.
I'm going to hate seeing him
Yeah.
over the next couple of years. But they're going to have to pay all these guys around the same time. And you as the quarterback, like you talk about, and we shit on Tom Brady all the time, but Tom Brady every year does whatever he has to do for them to make the moves that they need to make. And if some of these guys, listen, they are going to be like we're talking about $40 million. Guy's not asking for $30 million. He wants $40 million. The highest paid quarterback is at 35, and he wants to go like down. Like, to me, if he wants to say, hey, I've been healthy, I want $30 million, and he gets, I think he's an 18 to 20, 22 guy. He gets 28. All right, they overpaid, but he's taking less than what some of the higher echelon quarterbacks are taking. You can always renegotiate it later. I could see that, because if you want to win, you have to understand that your running back who makes you a better player needs to get paid as well.
Yep.
Your number one wide receiver that you finally have needs to get paid as well. But to me, it's almost like a situation where he's handcuffing. He would handcuff the organization in order to get this money.
And that's what he's doing, holding it hostage, which is
Hate
selfish.
to say it. Hate to say it.
I brought up to one of the guys on my show, and we'll talk about tomorrow, that if Dak ever went into a holdout, which I don't think he ever would.
I don't think he's that kind of. He doesn't come off to me as that kind of guy that would do a holdout.
No.
You never know.
But again, this is the same guy that wants Russell Wilson money, so maybe he's not thinking clearly anyway. I threw out a scenario where the Dallas Cowboys would trade him to the Tennessee Titans for Marcus Mariota. And on the surface, you think, okay, why would they do that? There's two reasons. Number one, you guys both agree that if Mariota has not gotten hurt as much as he has, the Tennessee Titans are in the playoffs every year of the last 3 years, because they were right on the bubble 3 years ago. He got hurt. They ended up falling. They made it 2 years ago when he was healthy, and last year got hurt again, and they were right on the bubble. So a healthy Mariota, again, he's not great, but he's around the same level, in my opinion, as Prescott. So you can argue the Tennessee Titans, because their roster's good, their running back's good, they have been one healthy quarterback away from being in the playoffs every year and doing well. What's Dak Prescott? He's a healthy version of Marcus Mariota.
Yeah.
See, here's your issue.
So they go out and they get a team that needs a healthy quarterback goes out and backs up their quarterback with Ryan Tannehill, by the way.
Oh,
I
yeah,
still
that
can't get over that. I
it's
still
like, what
can't
do you
get
do
over
with
that.
The same guy.
Who, by the way, Ryan Tannehill looked good the other night.
He always does.
I actually think I'm gonna be honest. If Ryan Tannehill is healthy, I think he's a better quarterback than Marcus Mariota.
It's close. It's close. The problem is he's just never hurt. He's never healthy ever.
If they're both healthy, I would take Tannehill over him.
See, here's your issue with Mariota and a Dak swap is that the Titans have a culture where it's a lot of younger guys, a lot of veterans that kind of keep their head down and do what they're doing, and it's all, okay, we know what we need to get done to get to the playoffs. Let's keep quiet and get there. Whereas you bring in a guy like Dak who's not that way. He's this is my team, big personality, and I don't think that even if you think that he's better than Mariota or can be that next piece, egotistically won't get you there because he's not going to perform well with the other players. That's the same reason why Dallas won't do well this year. Mm-hmm. You've got a lot of talent there. You've got a dream team-esque, if you throw back to the Eagles, where there was so much talent there that team should beat everybody out there, but nobody can play together because they're all about each other, all about themselves.
I really wouldn't say that Prescott's – I don't know. Maybe we have different opinions on Prescott. I don't think he would have that kind of reputation in there. I just look at it as both of them are going to be due money. And Mariota should and probably will be asking and commanding for less money than Prescott. So if you're doing that, you're using Mariota. And again, people at home, this is strictly hypothetical. No one believes that there's going to be a trade 1-for-1 involving the Tennessee Titans and Mariota because we don't think Prescott's going to hold out. It's strictly hypothetical. But if they did it,
if you're a Dallas Cowboys fan, I think there's three things that you're assured of. Jason Garrett will always be the head coach.
And he's going to clap a lot.
He's gonna clap a lot.
Yeah.
Your Dak Prescott will be your quarterback. For whatever reason, I don't think that Jerry will ever they might disagree on the money now, but Dak Prescott will be your quarterback, and Jerry Jones will never retire.
Oh, he's like Vince. He's like Vince McMahon.
I was thinking more like the Ric Flair. I'll never retire.
Oh, that's it. We saw how that ended, though. Yeah, unfortunately.
Just to put what he's asking for in perspective, going into this year, the top 10 quarterbacks as far as average salary per year is Wilson 1 at 35, Roethlisberger 34, Aaron Rodgers 33.5, Wentz at 32, Matt Ryan 30, Kirk Cousins 28, Jimmy G 27.5, Matt Stafford 27, Derek Carr 25, and Drew Brees 25.
Like real talk. Okay, so like even if you want to be Dak and say I've never been hurt, I've won this many games. Finally won a playoff game. Pay me $32 million. Pay me as much as Carson at least.
Mm-hmm.
He's got an argument there. I don't think he's worth.
I could see that. I could see that.
I don't think he's worth it. But if I'm Big D, yeah, I got to pay the guy. If that's what it takes, then I could do that. I still would laugh. Because he's definitely not a $32 million quarterback. But
they've already came in and offered 30, so you're already at that mark anyway.
And Dallas loves headlines, so I think Jerry Jones might just like try and one up the Wentz thing, just so they can just be like, you know what I mean? Like that's a typical Dallas move.
let him.
That
Hate
helps
to say
us
it.
out.
Would you guys also agree that there's 20 Dak Prescotts in every other draft? There are. Especially when you look at the situation they'd be coming into. I'm not saying Paxton Lynch can come in and do what Dak Prescott's doing. I'm not saying that. But I can understand on the flip side, and I agree with you, Chrome, Prescott's not going anywhere. I can understand the argument in Jerry's behalf and the organization's behalf of, well, we can just write out this contract and we can find another one of you and we can go through the same years of control and we might have a better quarterback and you're going to be sitting there like, can somebody pay me $20 million, please? I'm kind of a free agent.
But I think you'll see more. I think Jerry will bend more towards Dak than he would for Zeke.
And I think that's a mistake.
I don't disagree with you, but I don't know what it is. Jerry loves Dak. Clearly, he doesn't love Zeke. Clearly, with his statements, Zeke is expendable.
He made that bet when he drafted him 4.
Yep.
He made the – listen, I didn't tell him to pick him. We didn't pick him. We had the opportunity to pick him.
I know.
We took Carson Wentz. We take Mr. Elliott. You know what I'm saying? Just saying.
Yeah,
Just
I know.
saying.
I think that he is committed for whatever reason to Dak. I think he thinks the world of Dak way more than anybody else outside of Dallas thinks of Dak. Or be honest, most people. You talk to any real Cowboys fans, majority of them would rather have Romo back in his prime than what they believe they have with Dak. But
Backup quarterback?
yeah.
Joke. I had to say it. I saw it like 100 times on Twitter.
Hey, I mean, why not?
He's thinking.
Jason Witten's back.
Yeah,
That's true. That's true.
you never know.
I want to know if he had a brain transplant. The way he is in the booth, reading, calling plays.
Oh my God, he calls every play before it happens.
He does.
They actually told him to stop at
I
a
know.
point. Like, put a cap. You only have 10 guesses a game. After that,
Why would they? I'm not arguing with you, but why would they tell him to stop? I mean, that's what makes him great. It's like it's not the WWE where it's like, oh, listen, we know what's gonna happen. It's like you're really good at what you do. You know what I mean?
See, I can disassociate booth Tony Romo from field Tony Romo, right?
100%.
And the thing with what I love about him, which is why I think it's preposterous that they would ask him to stop, is for fans who aren't as in tune with the ins and outs and the X's and O's, the fact that he can call the play before it happens lets you visually see how that play would play out, and you learn more from it.
Yeah.
So why are we going to minimize what we're teaching the audience, which is what their job is? There's a commentator and an analyst, and the analyst is supposed to analyze and educate the people who are at home, the viewing audience. Why would you handcuff the guy? He's the best that I've seen over the last 20 years of doing it.
Yep.
I agree 100%. And the two reasons that I've seen come up that they've said it is, A, they want the after the fact, after the play is over, then you analyze, because you almost kind of create a dead air space a little bit because the play's over. You're waiting for them to re-huddle or timeout or something. You've already said exactly what happened. So you're kind of killing it there, which is selfish in my opinion. But the opposite side was, now you're giving a secondary. It's like having another coach to analyze the film, where teams are using games that Romo calls to watch that. They're like, oh, we didn't actually see that.
Oh, who gives a shit about that?
This is what the NFL says. This isn't other teams or the.
It's the no fun league, of course. No, that's ridiculous. And there doesn't have to be dead air space, because if he calls it and this is how the play goes, they can go back and say, this is what I saw when I made that thing, and kind of reinforce what was said, and then they can show in slow motion, usually when this play, I thought this because usually when this play happens, you run this wheel route or whatever it is. I don't know. But it's a chance to educate your fan base, to learn more about the game and have more of a passion for the game.
Well, it's also, if the NFL does not want him, or the broadcast team or whatever, if they don't want him to do that, then it's completely going up against what his job title says.
No, they want the other asshole to sit on a cart on the sideline.
Oh, it's literally exactly. Boger McFarland, exactly. The play-by-play guy, his job is to
sit on his
describe
power
what
wheels.
he's seeing, and the color commentary is supposed to teach basically the viewers, give them a little insight. That's what he's doing. He's doing a damn good job of it.
No, we'd rather have some asshole sit on a cart on the sideline
and block half the fans.
And Power Wheels and block the fans.
Not only that, it makes boring games more fun.
Yes.
Like if you look back at the Super Bowl, for me watching it as a Patriots fan,
a pretty terrible game.
Worst game I've ever seen in my life.
Ever.
I don't disagree that it wasn't a great Super Bowl, but to watch
happy with the result.
Yes, extremely happy.
Understandable.
But if you go back and rewatch the fourth quarter, where the entire fourth quarter, Romo's calling out all of Edelman and Gronk's plays, as a fan, you're sitting there like, oh my God, I hope so. Like, he's like, oh, watch, Edelman's open again. You're like, oh, I hope so. It's like, if you watch even outside of your favorite team, Eagles, Patriots, whoever it might be, if you watch something, it's like, it almost gives you a little glimpse of hope to make you keep watching, versus sitting with blind eyes saying, oh, nothing's going to happen this game. Well, you don't know that because you don't know how the game is actually played off the line.
Let me ask a question. Whether he calls it before the play is made or he breaks it down to explain what happened, how does it make a difference if he's explaining the play regardless? Is it because I hear the sound after the fact? As someone who breaks down game film, all of a sudden I'm an idiot and I can't grasp the concept of, hey, let me play what he said after and then go back and rewatch the play again and analyze it again after I've already heard what he told me after. What's the difference?
It's the NFL.
I think the issue.
He could have pissed someone off, honestly.
Yeah.
You never know. Really could have.
I think the real issue is he's
a sweet guy in the booth. He's not pissing people off.
I think the real issue is he just hasn't telestrated anything like Madden yet.
I don't know.
What was that?
He said something about he might have pissed somebody off. He's nice. He's a nice man in the booth.
By the way, Dion makes a great point with Jason Witten. He says, I believe Witten is tarnishing his already gold jacket career by coming back. Do you guys agree? I 100% do.
I agree as well. I think he should have stayed at home on the couch.
Yeah. Away from the booth, but just on the couch.
My gut tells me yes. But I don't know what he has left in the tank. So if he comes back and has a very subpar year, it's a complete failure on his part.
Wasn't he getting injured all the time, too?
He had nothing left in the tank 3 years ago.
I'm just saying.
His game is literally run 5 yards, turn around, hey, that's it.
I'm just
That's
See,
it.
I think the issue becomes was A, how much was he playing hurt? And B, how much emotionally did he have in the tank to give it 100% to play in a team that in Dallas he might not have ever thought was going anywhere? So why try at that point in your career? Now, a year off, you watch the team, you see Zeke come in. There might be a spark there. Say, hey, I want to try to win again. You know, I'm healthy a whole year off. I want to see what these guys can do. I'll give it 100%. Now, I still agree with you. I think it does tarnish anything because I don't think it's going to turn out how he wants.
Correct. So I said my gut tells me that. But maybe he surprises people. I mean, if there is a player who I have respect for his toughness, it's him. Wouldn't shock me if he had a decent year. He needs to have a decent year to make this not a complete catastrophe. That's what I would say. I don't think it's going to happen that way. I think he's going to be a wasted roster spot.
Well,
but it is what it is.
In his position, it's hard to not have a decent year, though. You exactly what you said. He goes up
fairness,
5 yards and stands there.
In fairness, he couldn't possibly have a worse year on the field than he did in the booth last year.
This is true.
Yeah, very true.
Which I do believe, when you think about the great player that he was, and then to step in the booth and hear what a mumbling, bumbling idiot he was in the booth, I think that tarnishes the way you look at the player.
So a wrestling guy. So he's the Goldberg of the NFL. His broadcasting career was like what it was when The Undertaker and Goldberg faced off against each other in Saudi Arabia.
Correct.
He said, fans, I'm not going to let you remember me this way. I'm going back to the field, if maybe it's for 2 minutes, but the last time you're going to see me is on the field running for 3 yards and catching the ball.
I guess, yeah.
There you go. We figured it out.
It's that whole, yeah, you're right.
He's the Goldberg of the NFL.
He is the Goldberg of the NFL.
I feel like I'm a little overselling it because I don't know if he's Goldberg territory.
He's not one of the.
He's up.
But he's up.
Dallas.
Yeah, Dallas sucks.
True.
Yeah. A couple comments over here on the book. I know we're getting ready to go to break.
Yes, sir.
Ralphie
was taunting you earlier, by the way. Crumb.
I don't give a shit what he has to say. Ralphie says it's okay to embrace my Foles hate or something like that.
You're saying you're afraid to criticize Foles.
I'm not afraid to criticize. I've never been afraid to criticize Foles. You know that.
I know that.
He says we had to dummy down the playbook for Nick. Kyle says 100% or 1,000% agree with the poll. He calls Ralphie the fraud. I agree with that. Nicholas John Parks says Osweiler's one of the biggest jokes at quarterback besides Kaiser and Peterman. It is crazy that Peterman still has a job in this league.
He had a great, 50-yard run the other day?
Yeah.
That was a nice run.
Yeah.
Got on a horse.
That was his career highlight.
In preseason.
That and, the 7-interception game or whatever the hell that was.
One counted and one didn't. Yeah. That's a big part.
True.
Dion says Phillies update 2-1.
2-2.
It's 2-2 now.
Pitching Gale for run.
Of course they did. And you read the other point. Anything on the book before? On the
handful. Ralphie chimed in over here saying Nick Foles don't want no smoke. That's definitely proper grammar, Ralphie. And then Dave said, if you smell what the Rock is cooking, and then he said to you, talking about that wonderful Super Bowl game, he said, my Rams had the Patriots beat.
No.
But did they? I don't know.
I just read what's on the prompter.
Yeah,
I don't.
Nope.
No, you lost. I mean, it's
it's
over. It's time to move on.
3 points.
Yeah, I mean, the Patriots are
It's
just
done.
better. I mean, it's just that. I mean, that's simple.
Come on. You guys couldn't beat them. We did.
Yeah, not only that, you had your strongest suit was your defense, and you got outplayed.
How many
on
points did
defense.
the Rams score in that game?
13-3.
And Todd Gurley took a vacation in the middle.
How many games did we score against the Patriots in the Super Bowl? Was it 41?
I believe so.
It was
41?
41-33.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah. My point is
A little bit more.
Goff sucks. He's terrible. I don't see the draw. I just don't.
I see the talent there, and he has a lot of talent around him, which maximizes him.
It makes him look better than he is, in my opinion. Great receivers. The running back line.
He faltered big time in the big game, and I think that I worry because I do like Goff. I think he's a smart guy. I just don't know if he has the toughness in big games. We'll see how the career goes, but
there's too many lights in L.A. in my opinion.
Could be. Not for David Roscoe, though. No. Right? You're a Rams, Chargers, Clippers, Lakers, Dodgers, Angels
Angels.
fan.
Does he have a board? He just spins and darts.
Sheesh.
He likes all of the teams. I told him
He's
you
getting his
can't.
money's worth. I'll
Is
tell
that
you
real? Oh my god.
Yeah, it's real.
That's real, yeah.
I don't know if he's a Lakers guy. I don't know.
Yeah, he said he likes the
Yes.
Lakers and the Clippers.
Oh boy, David.
How many hockey teams? There's only one hockey team though, right? The Kings.
I think he likes the Ducks. He's always talking about the
Oh,
Ducks
he likes.
with
He
with
probably
Bailey.
likes. He probably likes the Kings too.
I just don't know. I just can't keep up with the state.
Do you like the Sparks? Are they still a team?
What is that?
The
What are those?
WNBA.
Oh.
Lisa Leslie played for the Sparks, man.
Who's that?
No disrespect, I'm sure.
WNBA Hall of Famer.
I'm sure she's very nice. I don't.
She's a sweet lady.
Yeah, just like Tony in the
Sweet,
booth.
sweet lady.
Just like
Tony, Booth Tony is a sweet man, very kind man. All right, we'll take our break at this point. If you're on YouTube and Facebook, guys, stick with us. We're going to take a short break. You know what we do. We'll come back on the other side. We're going to go a little bit more around the league. We kind of touched on. We started with Cowboys, get into a few other things. We'll try to touch on some fantasy football. We got No Huddle coming at you. Yeah, so if you join us on Instagram, Periscope, and Twitter, appreciate you guys. Make the jump. Go over Facebook, search A2D Live. Over on the YouTube, A2D Radio. Like, subscribe, follow us. Give us good juju because we're going to keep bringing great programming to you. On the other side, we'll catch you. Thank you to our sponsors, Gibson Mayer, Specialized Physical Therapy, and Scanzano Sports. Me, Kevin, Chris, and Mr. Ryan, handsome Ryan Brodo over here. We'll be back in a few minutes. What up, fam? Welcome back to Birds of a Feather live on A2DRadio.com from the Real Talk Studios. On A2D Live, A2D Radio over on the YouTube. If you made the jump from Twitter, Periscope, and Instagram, we appreciate you. Glad you guys made that jump. We're going to continue to talk Eagles football as well as around the league. Our Scanzano Sports topic of conversation, Dallas Goedert will be the tight end one by season's end. Agree, disagree. We're brought to you by Gibson Mayer, LLC, our certified public accountants. Make them yours, GibsonMayer.com. And Specialized Physical Therapy, you can find them on the web, SpecializedPhysicalTherapy.com. Chrome, Chris, Kevin, and handsome Ryan Brodo over on the ones and twos coming back at you. And we were talking a little Browns during our break.
We were, yeah.
Shall we? We're doing around the leg. Let's transition that conversation to the air.
Real quick, I want to get to Dion's comment going back to
right.
before the break. We were talking a little NBA. How did we even get into the WNBA? I completely forget how that even came up.
I said if Rosca is a Sparks fan.
Oh, that's right. That's right. By the way, we have David's response I'll get to in a second here. But Dion Brown asking us, speaking of the WNBA, guys, will we ever get a team? LOL, I hope so. I know it'll be a bunch of women present, hopefully some single ladies as well. So do you believe we'll ever get a WNBA team?
I'm never opposed to single ladies being, the more the merrier.
That's fine with me.
That being said, probably not likely.
Yeah, I would agree too.
Very unlikely.
Christopher Estrite says, "What's up, fellas?" From
What's up,
Salina, Texas.
What's up, Christopher? How you doing, brother?
And Dave responding to our comments about him.
Well, he said to me on the Facebook, he said, I'm a Rams, Chargers, Ducks, Angels, Clippers, Lakers fan. I'm all Southern California.
Gotcha.
Doesn't work that way.
I don't think so.
Well, and then Kev, talking to you, he says, the Patriots got helped by the refs. I am a Rams, and then he goes, I am a Rams everything fan. So
Okay.
he was saying the refs helped you.
Yeah, I don't understand because going into
Well,
that
they cheat.
game
Cheat treats?
Because they cheat. They cheat.
to the Rams, agree. No, that wasn't where you're going.
No,
No,
the
the
Patriots
Patriots.
cheat.
Not
Yeah.
Patriots.
So
your team.
as far as the Rams go,
Did they test Edelman after that game?
they did actually.
Did they?
Yeah,
You sure?
yeah,
they-
for his hands to make sure he could hold up the trophy still.
Did they lose the
or
sample?
the MVP.
Did they lose the sample?
No. So I highly disagree saying that it was the Rams game and that they won it because you go into a game against arguably the greatest coach of all time, and throughout the year you have the number one defense. What did you do? Nothing. You can't say you won a game when you got stopped all game, and then your number two in the league offense only put up 3 points.
And then Todd asks a question on the Eagles. He says, so would you trade Big V for Clowney? I would. I don't think the Texans
In a
would ever-
heartbeat.
I don't think the Texans
That's a no-brainer. We win, they lose.
Yeah. I don't think that would happen, but I'd say go for
would
it
have
if you
to-
could.
It would have to be Big V and like Aguilar and then some.
Or a lot of money.
Yeah. I mean, listen, if the Texans want to just take Big V, who's like our third offensive lineman in the depth chart behind like two other guys.
And get one of those coupon books back for him.
Yeah. Like, listen, I'll drive him to the airport. I'll fly him over to you. Like, that's fine. For freaking Jadeveon Clowney?
No takesies, backies.
No. That's all, Crum. That's all.
Okay. Sorry. I have a really good no huddle later, by the way.
I saw you doing something.
I wanted to confirm something on the no huddle I had. It just popped in my head and I forgot about it, and I wanted to make sure I got everything right. So we'll get to it. We're not there yet. We're not there
No, I'm
yet.
just thinking. Just trying to figure
Pace
it out.
yourselves. You're not going to get this one.
All right.
This is one Ralphie actually told me about last week. It was after we were on the air. And I forgot that I wanted to remember it for this weekend. For whatever reason, I saw that Crumb's name in the chat, and it popped in my head. So, but yeah. So we wanted let's get into that Browns conversation we were talking about. So early on, gut feeling. Now we're in the preseason. A couple people were saying they don't think that the Browns are going to be where a lot of people seem to think they might be at. So I kind of want to get some feelers on you guys and share with the fam the conversation we had. What is your outlook on the Cleveland Browns this year? Because a lot of people have them as one of the top 2, 3 teams, 4 teams in the AFC. So where are we at?
I think when you have a really young and talented team like we've seen in the past on a lot of different teams throughout the years, They can start out well. Chemistry is always an issue. When things get challenging and hard, they tend to look at one another, and then they don't ride the wave, the momentum. They kind of just they look back at their coach. They're just like, dude, like what's going on? And then they start doing the blame game, and then they crumble. I see the Browns like 9-7.
Okay.
Yeah,
Playoffs?
No.
No. Okay.
No.
Yeah, I see them making the playoffs. I see them winning the division. If you look at their division, the Bengals are bottom of the barrel in the league, I think, as far as that play is concerned. I think they're just stale. I think they're an under 500 team. And then I personally am not a fan of the Ravens whatsoever. I don't think that a quarterback like Lamar Jackson will ever work out. You see many teams try it. The best team I've seen so far run as much as they do and work well is Cam Newton, and I think Cam Newton's a better athlete than Lamar Jackson is. He can actually throw. Watching that game, last week, like I said earlier, their first 3 drives, Lamar Jackson had 2 touchdowns out of the 3, but he never ran. But that's unrealistic to the way that they play, and there was a lot of garbage catches. It was scrambling in the pocket and throwing it, and your receivers making great plays to save yourself. That's not going to work, in true game time decisions in one-on-one matchups. So then you got the Steelers, which I think take a step back. I still think that they're up there, top 4 or 5 in the AFC. I just don't think that – I think it's going to be too scrappy against the Browns. I think they'll split the series. But then I think that when they go out and play other teams outside the division, I think the Browns will edge them out by a game.
Do you think they're going to be strong later on in the season, or are they going to fall off?
Who, the Browns?
The Browns.
I think that they will be strong throughout. I think they'll go through waves, like you said, but I don't think it will be like a dive off like Andy Reid's start 8-0 and then lose first-round playoffs.
Skydive.
Yeah, I don't think you'll see that. I think it's
like I used to see with the Dolphins every year. Back when Marino played, they would be amazing up until December, and once December hit, they lost every game in friggin' December every year and would lose out to the Bills in the division.
same with the Cowboys. They were
Or
notorious.
The Jets were good then, too.
For not playing in December.
Yeah.
So I mentioned to you guys, and we talk about this every year, you can only dive into schedule predictions at this time of the year so much because we don't know the situations going into the week, injuries, so on and so forth. But I mentioned to you guys that at the beginning of the season, it's kind of easy, and then they go on like a 5-6 week span of it gets really difficult. And I had mentioned that, around week 7 and 8, it's going to be really the breaking point, in my opinion, of what this Browns team is. And I'll sum up to you what I mean. So you start off and you play the Titans at home. Doable. Then you go to the Jets. Doable. Okay? Then you go on a stretch where you host the Rams. That's a tough game.
Tough game. They could win that, though.
You go to Baltimore. What you got? I'm not that high on Baltimore, but it's a divisional game.
It's a tough game in Baltimore.
Really good defense.
Tough game.
Okay? Also, early in the season where the whole Lamar Jackson thing, defenses are still trying to figure that out. It's not like you're playing them for the second time later in the year. Then you go to the 49ers, West Coast game. Also, the 49ers are probably going to be way better than they were the last 3-4 years. Then you host the Seahawks, always tough. The Seahawks are always a good team. Then you go to the Patriots, then to Denver. Denver, another team where I'm not high on them, but it's later in the year going to Denver, it's tough.
Mm-hmm.
Right around Patriots, Denver Broncos game territory, that I believe you're going to be coming off of maybe a 2, maybe 3 game skid of losses. And they're going to either embrace it, bound together, and rebound, because after that they have some doable games where they can bounce back. Or they will become exactly what I agree, Chris, and they're a young football team. The organization has not seen anything close to success or anywhere close to it in years. The fan base, the same thing. We talked during the break that I believe the identity of the Browns is similar to what, in a lot of ways, the identity of last year's Eagles team was. And I get it. We won the Super Bowl. I get it. We already had a high ego, high confidence, because every time you win a championship, you have that. So the comparison's weird because the Browns haven't won anything in years. We did. But my point is, we were talking all kinds of smack. We're dancing in the end zone, high bravado, and that's good. It's good to have confidence. But with a young football team, when you have the likes of Mayfield, who I like, but big-time personality. I don't have to go into detail what Odell Beckham is. Even Jarvis Landry and, of course, Kareem Hunt. You have a and then, of course, the rookie head coach, Freddie Kitchens, you don't know the GM, the structure. There's a lot that can go wrong just like that. So in my opinion, it's going to be a year of a lot of talent, a lot of excitement. But I agree, 9-7 is around where I have them, borderline playoff team. Next season is where I look at them. They come out ready to go. They learn from it. Mayfield's third season. They're going to be one of the best teams in the league next year, not this year.
Yeah, see, I have them at 10-6. I think they get in. Probably the wild card. I think they get in. My concern with them, and it's probably more of a long term than this season, as I mentioned to you guys, I still don't see the need to bring Kareem Hunt in because I think Nick Chubb is the real deal. And I worry that could, especially if he has an off game or two at that point in the season, create an unnecessary controversy, and it could impede his growth by having that Kareem Hunt caliber player looking over his shoulder. And I think they're very similar backs. I just don't see the need that they had. I think they would have been fine coming into the year having Duke Johnson, running behind him. But that being said, I think that they're a playoff team. I don't think that they win a playoff game this year. And I think that that's what they'll kind of get their feet wet in the playoffs this year. They'll learn from whoever it is that they play. And I agree with you. Next year, I think they come out running. It's another year under Tom Brady's belt. And it's another year for another team or two in the AFC to inch closer to the Patriots at that point. So that's where I am on the Browns.
Agreed.
We
So
shall see.
Do you have the Steelers winning the division?
Probably this year.
So this was a conversation that we had earlier, off there before we came back in. I think a
lot of it's going to also depend with them. We know they have great lines in Pittsburgh. The step forward that we see from Juju this year, if he fills in and becomes that legitimate number one, which we all believe he probably is going to be, now that he doesn't have Antonio there at all and it's his job now, then I definitely think that they win the division this year. You don't have the Le'Veon Bell hanging. You don't have the Antonio Brown thing hanging. Conrad's your guy. Juju's your guy. That's your playmakers going forward.
I'll throw this to you real quick before you throw your thing in there, Kevin, with Juju. So tomorrow, for example, we're doing bold predictions tomorrow for the NFL. With Juju, my bold prediction, and I have high expectations for him, obviously. I expect him to lead the league in yards and touchdown catches. That's how big of a year. And again, people will be like, oh, what about Antonio Brown? What about, Julio Jones?
DeAndre Hopkins.
Yes, who are all better than him, but
Devontae
what he's going to have to do in that new role as the next kind of in the same role as Antonio Brown, I think he's good enough for that. I really do.
Well, my issue with that is that I'm a big Juju fan. I have been since he came in. But my issue is he's always had a true big-time one next to him, is how much of that pressure now is going to be on him that he can't.
Where I'm at with it.
That's
that
fair.
he can't deal.
And it's kind of the same thing with Conrad as well now. Now that Le'Veon is gone, it's James Conrad's job now. So now there's no cloud hanging over. These two guys are the top two playmakers now on the offense. So now they have to come in, and I'm not worried about either one of them. And I think they're going to be fine. But it is a very telling year for those guys. There was a lot of shit going down in Pittsburgh last year that was hanging over that football team.
Drama fest.
Yeah, it was crazy. None of that's there now. No distractions. The guys can just go out and play football. So they got to get it done.
They're all young and hungry, to be honest.
And I do believe that they will get it done this year.
Yep.
They have a lot to prove. They're filling in for pretty big shoes.
And their defensive and offensive line are the best they have been collectively in years.
Yeah.
So, obviously that helps. They've really been trying to build up that defense. Their defense has really not been that good the last handful of years when their offense has been great. That's why there was really no success in the playoffs. This year I think it's going to be different.
We'll see.
And so as far as the Kareem Hunt issue goes, I think it actually helps them having it. I don't think.
Well, you got fresh legs if they do make the playoffs.
Yeah.
That's for damn sure.
Yeah, because he's out 8 games. I pulled up. It's 8.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, it's 8 games. So you still have a half a season with him, and you look at what kind of runner you already have, and he's supposed to be a bell cow, right? So you're gonna run out all the legs you've got now, dealing out Duke Johnson. You don't have him there, so Chubb's going to be your ground and pound guy. 8 weeks in, you now no longer have the Gurley issue where he plays all season like that and you lose him in the playoffs. You can take 2 weeks off and you can say, hey, this is why we brought you in. It's not because, we think that you're the future on the team. It's a 1-year contract, an 8-game contract, if you will, because we know that, we know what we lost as far as it goes. Chubb's our future anyway. We want to win now, though. If you come in and say, hey, I'm not looking at that much money down the road, but we truly believe we can win now, why not?
Then give him an opportunity to kind of show what he can do for audition for teams for next year.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. I just, again, the guy has character issues. I don't know how much it's going to be a distraction on that football team when he comes back, because it's going to be a circus when he steps back onto the field. And he has, his history on the field is being the guy. He's going to have a real heavy dose of reality that right now you're not the guy. You got a lot to prove before you can step back into that role.
Well,
A little bit of humble pie for him.
I think you come into almost like a Mike Vick situation, right, where a little bit different because he's not gone from the game as long.
Well, Mike Vick also served.
Right, but I'm saying is if you take Mike Vick, right, Kareem Hunt was arguably one of the.
I always look at Mike Vick as different than any of these guys because Mike Vick served the full term of a heavy thing on him.
I don't mean as far as missing the time, but you take a guy at the time, arguably one of the best quarterbacks, and no one had seen anything like what Vick was doing, and then you look at Kareem Hunt, arguably one of the best, and then you say, hey, now nobody wants you. You're spoiled goods. Nobody wants to touch it because of the issues. You take a step back and say, wow, okay, I got to keep my head down. I have to not worry about anything else. I got to show again how good I was and how good I can be with my mouth shut this time.
Yeah.
And as far as the making the playoffs, to Brodo's point, I think it's the opposite. I think they win the division this year. I don't think they go too far in the playoffs.
Right.
And I think next year, as a team, you have that sophomore slump, and they take a step back.
Okay.
So, little interesting news coming out of Indianapolis. So, this is per GM Chris Ballard, and he says now that the Andrew Luck calf injury has now turned into a high ankle injury.
Oof.
So, he did not elaborate on whether or not Luck will be ready for Week 1, but he's officially sitting out for the entire preseason. And news will follow shortly. This is per Adam Schefter.
Is it the bone bruising?
I'll double check. Apparently, he didn't go into specifics. Yeah. But, I mean, now this is an injury where they said it wasn't anything. Now it's an injury that's causing another injury. Yeah, it's a shame. This is a guy, and when Andrew Luck plays, we know. I don't have to tell you how good he is. We know. But whenever people, when we would do our lists, in the offseason of quarterbacks that we want to have for the next 10 years, and people would have Andrew Luck like 2, I would never, and people would say I'm a hater of him, but the guy is never healthy. It's always something. And it's a shame because we know how good he is. But again, this affects when we talk about projections for, the Steelers, the Browns. This is another team that has high expectations for the first time in like 4 years. I'm going to have to look at this again now. Because if he's a question mark for Week 1, that's going to turn into 2, 3, 4, 100%. I mean, it's not good.
From what I read, I didn't look too much into it because it was not really a valid source. It was just rumors that it was a bone bruising issue, that it's something that you cannot play on, that you're not practicing until it's 100% gone, that no matter what you do, you put any weight on it, it's going to get worse. It's got to be all or nothing. Yeah. So I'm in the same situation. I've never been that high on them, but mainly because of the injuries. I don't think that they're going to put up any fight in the AFC based off that.
I don't know. He changes the dynamic of that team so much. And that kind of even goes into our fantasy football conversation because now that's a top quarterback that people are going to look at and take early rounds. Now you got to track this. You got to take this into account when you're doing your drafts, this week and next week heading into the season. So that's a big blow. If he misses any time, that's a big blow.
My boy Jacoby Brissett, he might be coming back to the field. I love him.
I know you do.
They can pick up Hoyer. He'll be out there.
Oh, God.
Brock Osweiler's out there.
Carson, just stay healthy for me, buddy. Please.
Kaepernick's out there.
No, don't you do that. Don't you do that to me. Don't you
And get Sam Bradford.
Sam
He'll
Bradford's
love
out
a
there.
job.
Sammy Sleeves.
Kev, how do you do it? I mean, you never have to worry about Brady. How do you do it? I know he doesn't move, but, I mean, come on.
Well, see, the thing is, he's like a fine wine.
Oh,
He is now running
Look at
faster.
you.
He's now running faster than he ever has.
I apologize for encouraging him.
Didn't run fast enough to catch that football in the Super Bowl, though, did he?
Oh!
Hey, I don't need him to.
Well,
Jam
yeah,
a finger,
well, you
can't
don't
throw
want
the
to-
ball.
Well,
you
you
don't want
need him
seven?
to win a Super
He's
Bowl.
got to
You
do
don't
some
want seven?
squats, man.
I don't need him to catch that ball, per se.
I mean,
I mean,
that was the
Well,
difference
apparently
between-
they did because that was the difference between winning and losing
I mean,
the Super
you
Bowl.
would've-
see, what happened was
What
he goes-
happened was
What happened?
he goes out for that pass,
Uh-huh.
jams a finger,
doesn't run fast enough to catch it.
jams a finger, can't hold on to it, and then gets stripped. Then we lose.
Okay.
So
Or was it hockey? What, a 2-minute penalty on tripping?
And then see what had happened was Nick Foles went and caught the football, and they scored a touchdown on the Philly special.
You guys could have called, could have gotten it.
I mean, he could have. If you watch this his Instagram this weekend, he was throwing passes to himself because Tom Brady's son does not like sports.
What is he, Mr. Perfect? He starts throwing footballs to
Here
himself?
we go with the sun again, too. Here we go with the sun again.
Is this the one that he open mouth kissed?
Yes, his only son. Yeah.
Oh.
Should have seen it coming. Here we go. Doesn't like sports.
Why does all right, so you're a Patriots fan. So can you explain to me why he open mouth kisses every guy?
It's
He
just his
open
thing.
mouth kissed Robert Kraft, which was really weird too.
How is that acceptable?
Yeah. Come on.
As a man.
Come on.
Hey,
Kev.
I don't ask questions. I just see the rings
You
and
might need to
I
start asking some
turn-
questions.
I'm not judging that stuff, but
No.
like you post a video open mouth kissing your kid, it's weird.
It was on the documentary, too. It was on Tom
That's what I'm
versus Tom.
saying.
Yeah.
I
Kev, you are
Hey.
the representative. I mean, we have to ask you. These are the most important questions.
I get it. It's great questions, but we learned as Patriots fans, you keep putting rings on the mantle. I stop asking questions.
Oh.
At
Do
no
what
cost.
you want.
All right, I was going.
I'll give you that answer.
I
That's
like
a good
that.
answer, you son of a bitch.
Okay.
That's a great answer.
At any cost.
At any cost.
Cheating, kissing.
Yeah, whatever.
God.
Start
Hey,
killing. If
don't
you're
care.
Aaron Hernandez, kill him, motherfuckers.
Hey,
Whatever it takes to win.
Spying, Spygate,
Spygate.
Deflating.
deflating.
hey, all I have to do is go like this. If my hand reaches out, I touch that ring. Good. Don't care what I saw to get there. I got
Kills
it.
my
I would
soul.
say I'm disappointed in you,
you're
but you
terrible.
guys have won a lot, so I can't say that.
I'd say I'm disappointed in him, but I've learned to know the man sitting on the couch next to me, and I expect this kind of behavior from this man.
Yeah.
He looks all nice. He sounds very kind of,
Stoic.
you know, he plays very cool and very
Yeah.
laid back, and
We know what's really
we
going
know
on.
what goes
though.
on there.
We know what's
The looks
He
are
hides,
deceiving.
hides
Yeah.
behind the beard and the glasses.
That's the goal there.
So fantasy football, guys. How many leagues are we doing this year? I'm in possibly 5 now.
I'm in one. I don't play games. I'm in one.
I've never played
So-
fantasy football.
Really?
Never played it.
Oh, it's so much fun.
Never played
Would you like to be in the A2D league?
I might have to, honestly.
Is there
It's
one?
fun.
I got to get in there.
Yes.
Why haven't I not been invited?
Hey,
Oh,
Greg, we
it's
have
a-
3 new guys.
It's a league. It's
because I've been crumb
It's a
listed.
company exclusive league that we're doing though.
Yes.
You have to work for the company.
Yeah, we've learned our lesson
Yeah.
from last year.
That was a mess trying to put that together,
Yeah.
which I took no parts in because
No,
I
I
knew it
didn't.
was
either.
going to
I
be.
won the
But
league, but that was it.
No, it's a lot of fun. But yeah, this will be my 5th league. So the one I'm most excited about though, we do a draft at the link for the Eagles draft night.
Nice.
Did it last year. It was amazing. You go, you get a happy hour. You get 2 drinks for free. It's like an hour-long thing. You can take a picture with a couple Eagles legends. Last year it was Fred Barnett and Mike Quick. And then you go and you get a private suite. And it's catered. They give you the draft board. And you get to it's from I think 7 to 11 to do your draft.
Wow.
It's awesome.
Yeah, I
It's a
think
good
I saw a couple pictures from that. Did you
From
guys
mine
have?
last year? I did it last
Yeah,
year.
did you guys have cheerleaders as your sticker girls or something like that? I saw.
No, there were
oh,
cheerleaders there. Of course, I took a picture of the
Yeah.
cheerleaders.
I thought that was the case. Where they were,
I'm
One in Rome.
not open mouth kissing
Yeah.
my kid here. You know what I mean?
hey,
Cheerleader maybe, but no, they have that there too.
So when you do fantasy, how do you determine who picks first? How do you get first pick, or I get first pick? You flip a coin.
So it kind of depends though. If it's like a new league or like a league that resets every year. A lot of times it's randomized through the league that you're in. All of my leagues, with the exception of with this one, well, the one I run with Greg, I do with Greg too. They're keeper leagues, so like you can keep up to 2 or 3 guys depending on the league, and then it's kind of where you finished. So like if you're a playoff team, you're in, and then we actually do a draft lottery for the non-playoff teams, and that selects who gets the upper picks first.
But for
Although we do it differently. So with fantasy football, it's interesting because some people hate picking number 1. So the way we do it with the lottery, so if you make the playoffs, where you finish is kind of where you go pretty much until the end. But if you win the lottery, they let you pick your spots. So essentially, if I win the lottery, I don't have to take the number 1 overall pick. I might win number 3. You can pick the number 3 spot. And then they kind of go down that way, and then wherever you end up after that.
Okay.
And for ours, it's going to be easy because it's not a keeper league. All it is, it's basically, and the good thing is, unlike how it used to be, it's all online.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's cheat sheets. There's 100. There's basically recommendations. There's rankings. Obviously, 90% of the people stray away from it and they'll do their own things. But no, I mean it's so much easier than it used to be.
Yeah.
So much easier.
Yeah, I'm in 4 leagues this year. Two money leagues. One's a work league. Another one is a league that I've been doing for a couple of years. And the other 2 are just free mock trial leagues that I test some things in. But the way ours works is the one I do is reverse order. So if you won the championship, it's 12 guys. If you won, you get the 12th pick. If you had the worst record in the league, you get the first pick.
That's what most leagues do.
Okay.
And then most other ones, especially if you use like an ESPN or Yahoo, it's just random. So the one league I do, we random select out of a basket, out of a little bingo basket. Other times you just hit random on the computer and it just generates whatever order you want.
Yeah, because I've always wanted to do it, and like all my friends and family are just like, do it, you'd be great at it. But I'm just like, one, how do you guys find like the time? You know what I mean? Like you really have
set
to
your team once a week.
You know what I mean? So you just like look throughout like the week or like the year, like when you're making your picks, you kind of just like who you want. Like you'll list like 5 quarterbacks, and like I want so, and you pick from there. Then you go like
so
to the next, or like.
So like the only
Like, does it take a lot of time?
The real prep is kind of pre-draft, so maybe like the 2 or 3 days before you go in, you really take a look. Like I do pretty well. I do almost no prep work. I never do.
No notes.
No notes.
No notes.
No
I
notes.
actually do no notes pretty much. I use a couple of there's apps that you can get to where you can input the scoring system in the app, and then it will rank the players by the app. So, or by the scoring system, it'll customize the rankings. There we go.
And the Patriots are cheaters. I don't get this. We
This
use
is-
an app to pick our
I use
team now?
I use RotoWire.
I know. I've heard of it.
Okay.
No good.
I win
No good.
I win championships every year. So you
Why
can
don't you
kiss
just
my
auto
ass.
draft? Let a computer pick your team. That's the way it's
the
done.
most ridiculous. No, that's not the way it's. Don't teach this kid
Yeah,
the
come
wrong
on
way to
now.
do it.
That's what you just said.
This guy's never
I
done
use
it.
I use an app to pick my team.
No, it
Recommends
customizes
it.
the rankings to your league, as opposed to, hey, I'm going to pull up just what Matthew Berry says about what the rankings are. You input your scoring system, and
Right.
then it updates every day. So when guys get injured, it'll put the injury there, so you know what's going on. It has updates of what they've done that week in camp.
So it's like a cheat sheet. It's
Right.
it's a self-automated cheat sheet.
Right.
It's
what-
no different than people who buy magazines and read them. It's just this
Yeah.
updates every day. It's the exact same premise.
But doesn't it do that anyway on ESPN?
Yes.
Like the ESPN app.
For the most part, yes. And it has little icons. So,
But it doesn't customize. ESPN doesn't customize the rankings
It doesn't
to your league, though.
customize.
This will customize. So if my scoring, some things are a little bit different, it will take that into account, and then by projections of players, it might swap. So David Johnson might be 6th in one, regularly, and then he might drop down to whatever, or if it's a PPR
Yeah.
league.
Yeah, the only thing that ESPN does is PPR versus standard.
See, the good thing, Chris, is for the A2D league, we don't customize anything. It's PPR and whatever's
Yeah.
it's
So
it's the
Whatever the
simo-
site sets.
Yeah, like it's that simple. You know what I
we
mean?
got to take a
Okay.
step back because a question was brought up, and I have a feeling that the layout is a little bit different. So most standard leagues, you're not just picking a
It
grouping.
sounds so much more complicated than it is too
Yes.
from our
Yeah,
explanation.
That's
really
what-
not.
That's what I
It's
said.
really
not.
not
It's
this
really
difficult.
not.
That's why I wanted to take a step back and lay the groundwork. So the way it works is you
Well,
pick.
thanks for doing that.
Well, I know that you weren't going to. So
the look you just gave.
Lay the
So-
groundwork.
So the way it works is you pick
Fucking guy.
one team throughout the year, and it's usually a standard setup: one quarterback, two running backs, two wide receivers, one tight end, and a flex. A flex can be any.
Running back, wide
running back.
receiver, tight end, either of those positions.
Then you pick a defense, special teams grouping, and then you pick a kicker. And then most leagues have 5 to 6 bench players. It all depends.
Popular thing has been to get rid of the kicker, though. A lot of leagues are starting to get rid of kickers.
A lot of leagues are putting kickers with the defense, special
Right.
teams, as you just encompassed it. But and then you pick that team, and then you run with them for the season. Then that's now your team. And
See you next week, Nicholas. Thanks for jumping in, buddy.
every week you go up just like you would play a normal football game. My team versus your team, based on how they actually play, is how their scores correspond to our scores.
Right.
And then the skill part is in your added drops, if you agree, Chrome. You're watching the waiver wire. You could pick up players that weren't drafted and input them in your league that way.
Yeah, I mean, so I don't do a lot of ad drops. I never do. I've had seasons where I've won a championship, didn't make a trade, and only did 4 ad drops all season. Some people sit on the waiver wire and do it all day, every week. I'm not that guy. I don't have that kind of time to do it. But it's once you draft, when you do your pre-work and then you do your draft, it's pretty much maybe the first week or two you track to see who's off to a good start, maybe who's hurt or who's not doing well. And it's basically, I go on whatever the first week is. So if the first games are Thursday,
Go on Wednesday.
I put I go on Wednesday or Thursday morning. I put those guys in, and then maybe I'll look at it Sunday because I still have till Sunday to put the other guys in.
Basically, I'll explain it in the most simplified way possible. If you think the guy's going to have a good week, you put him in. If you don't, then you don't put him in.
And they give you projected scores of what.
Oh,
they
yeah.
think
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
gonna do.
I've seen like all the analytical stuff. I just
Yeah.
never like actually had that conversation or the time now that I'm changing jobs. I'll be working
Yeah.
3 days a week now, so I have 4 days off. So
Yeah.
I think I might have time.
The
for it.
Exactly. There
the
you
two
go.
most stressful things about the entire process is the actual draft. Like when you're in the draft, it's like the freaking Terror Dome. I mean, it is a million miles an hour.
It's funny because you're right. It's like it's stressful, but it's exciting.
Oh, it's awesome. Like
The draft is the best.
You'll get done that draft and you'll be exhausted, and all you're doing is you're on the computer, or you'll do it in person.
I do some live. I like live drafts a little bit better because it's funny when people make picks and you're like, wait, what? And then they're there that you can bust their balls in front of their face.
Yeah, I was about to bring that up. I want to draft with Ralphie. I feel like that would be best.
Kevin's
time.
like, even if it's online, I'm getting together with Ralphie and we're doing it in person together.
Ralph said, "Hey, I'll have to check. I'm not sure I'm available to do it." Ralph,
Come
really,
on,
Ralph?
Come
the
on,
schedule's that full. I didn't.
It's not. No, but it's not that full. That's the problem. His schedule isn't that full. So the two most stressful things is the draft itself.
Listen,
and
I'm-
if one of your key players gets hurt, other than that, it's completely simple.
I'm putting all A2D guys who are going to be in this league on notice. If you're going to say, I don't know if I want to be in or this and that, I'm having a draft pool party that I am going to host if you're going to be in this league. So, Ralph, get off your ass, put your shorts on, I'll set up the slide, and we're going to rock and roll.
I'll call him in here. Not actual call him. I'll
Yeah.
tell him to get in the chat. He's not doing anything.
I thought he was in there. Maybe not.
Eh.
We're going to rock and roll with it.
Yeah.
But anything, so let me ask this. What is, people have mixed strategies going into, particularly when you talk about the first couple rounds. Are you willing to share what your typical strategy? Mine
Yeah.
changes typically.
So mine is almost always the same. I almost always go
Patriots.
No.
Tom
Yeah,
Brady.
yes and no.
Tom Brady first round.
I mean,
He said
it
yes
does
and no.
greatest
Can I pick
greatest
the
team.
refs?
Julian Edelman second
No.
round.
I
Sony
tried,
Michel
didn't let
third.
me.
Sonny Michel third round.
No. So what I do is usually I've got 5. I run 5. My first 5 picks, I usually know exactly where I'm going as far as position and player. I usually only play PPR, so running back first, receiver, then depending on who's there, I go tight end. Because we've had this discussion, outside the top 4, there's nobody that's worth waiting for. Tight end, then I come back running back, receiver
So
again.
you go tight end early.
If I go,
See, it's tough to do it when Gronk's not in there.
well, that's why I said that's my game plan. If Ertz or Kelsey's not there, if somebody Crum takes them first round, which is absurd, if they're not there, then I wait. Then it's late game.
See, for me, it's more of, I understand where I'm at. Running backs are usually going to go the first 3 out of 4 picks. If I can get one of the top 3 or 4 running backs, that's 100% my first pick. If not, I literally just go best available player. If it's a wide receiver, it's a wide receiver. If it's a quarterback, it's a quarterback. And I just kind of roll with it. And like I said, so when I talked about that kind of app that I use, a lot of it is, having it customized makes it much, much more reliable to see the rankings. But it's also my gut, because it might tell me to take somebody, and sometimes you go with the best available because you just can't pass up. They're dropping. Or sometimes I got to say, you know what, I feel like this is where I need to get that tight end. And maybe, I have times where I reach on a guy, or it looks like I've reached on him. And by the end of the season, I ended up making out on the picks.
Speaking of reaches, if you're drafting right now, how long do you wait before you take a guy like a Kareem Hunt or a Golden Tate that's going to miss some time?
I don't take Golden Tate.
I don't draft him. He's undraftable for me.
If they miss any time.
It's not about the time. It's that he's not a big fantasy guy anyway. He's like
I'm talking about not necessarily the name, but a guy that's going to miss time.
Okay.
Like Kareem
Depends.
Hunt. Kareem Hunt is a big name. He is a big guy.
Well,
How long do you
I'll
wait?
put it this way. With Kareem Hunt, I would wait longer than anybody else is going to wait, because I know that he's going to go before the point where I would take him.
Yeah, and the other thing
So
is
he's
too,
not even on my radar.
It's not like the playoffs for fantasy start in what, like week 13 and 14. So you're only getting like 4 or 5 weeks out of the guy, and
It
2 of
depends.
those weeks might not be full Kareem Hunt due to, like I talked about, it's going to get him a couple weeks to get in full game shape again.
Like
Yeah,
my one keeper league. I have Nick
Yeah.
Chubb. I'm losing my 11th round pick, so I'm keep 3 guys. So if I keep them from last year, it's whatever their draft position was the year before, or for however long I keep them. I've had David Johnson forever, and I'm still only losing, I think, a 9th round pick for him this year, because I've had him since rookie year.
Yeah.
But I have Adam Thielen lose my 8th round pick, David Johnson lose my 9th, and Nick Chubb I'm losing my 11th. So I already have 2 running backs in place, 2 top running backs in place. I still might go for a top running back and just corner the market. I can always trade one later if somebody needs it. If not, put him right in my flex, because running backs win in this league in
much.
fantasy football. Running backs and quarterbacks win in fantasy football.
See, going off of the keeping Nick Chubb, train, is I only take Kareem Hunt or in any guy that is suspended. I only take them if I have their handcuff.
Right.
If I've got Nick Chubb, then I'll take Kareem Hunt. Late round.
So to me, too, it depends on how my roster fills out. Because if I can fill out what I can presumably assume would be my starting roster essentially through the year, and I can reach a little, now I have the luxury of reaching for Kareem Hunt a little bit, I may just take him just to have him and stash him. I don't play a lot of the guys on my bench unless a bye week comes up anyway. I pretty much consistently end up playing the same guys over and over. So maybe I would reach a little more than you asking me today where I would take him. Depends how that draft falls into place. But yeah, I mean, when you're talking long-term suspensions, I'm looking at those guys the bottom like 3 rounds of the draft, maybe 4. Most people, I've seen people take guys right in the smack dab in the middle of the draft who, I've seen people take Josh Gordon when he's still supposed to be out for a whole year towards the end of the draft.
You just take a look at that. So I have
By the way,
drafted.
guy
I
has no case on his phone. I still can't understand that.
So I do a couple free leagues, whether they be mock drafts or just fun drafts, to see how things pan out.
Ralphie! Real quick thing. Hey, Ralph.
He just says what?
What? Welcome back to the chat, Ralph. Appreciate you joining us. I'm just telling you right now, I'm setting the slide up. Get your bathing suit on. I'm hosting the A2D draft party, but you got to be in the league. So we're going to be swimming. We're going to barbecue. We're going to be slipping, sliding. We're going ultra slide into the pool, Ralph. You better be there. No excuses.
That's going to be a fun thing to see. How much squeakier can we get the voice going full speed down the slide?
We're doing it, Ralph.
Anyway, what were you saying?
Oh, yeah.
The reason why you hand me your phone with no case.
So I do a couple of
It's a rebel.
of drafts ahead of time just to see where things would play out because the money leagues I am in are a little bit high stakes.
Yeah,
so.
mine are very expensive.
Yeah. So
I've had years I've won $3 and $4 grand from fantasy football.
Yeah. So is there any questions there?
Well,
looking at
my first
as a-
impressions, isn't it just so convenient? How cute is it that his starting quarterback is Tom Brady, but his backup is Jimmy Garoppolo? Oh,
I got to.
it's a throwback, isn't it?
You got
Before
to.
Tommy Boy sent him out to the West Coast because he couldn't handle it.
Memories
Kissed him and sent him off.
Yes.
on the corner
No, they didn't kiss.
of my mind. Jimmy
Yeah.
GQ's too much of a stud for that.
Yeah. Well, he's got to stay healthy.
He has been going very late.
I'm
He has not
talking
been.
about a handsome man stud.
Oh, I
He's
understand.
not open mouth.
Yeah.
He's
Oh.
Tom Brady.
Look at Ralphie. Now Ralphie's available. When I asked him before
Yes.
the water slide, Ralph,
No,
that's
he
in
didn't know
writing
about
now.
the slide.
No, he didn't know about the food and the water slide.
He's in. Screenshot.
Yes, that's in writing now. Yeah, it's Tom Brady, Derrick Henry, Jordan Howard, Julio Jones, Stephon Diggs, Jared Cook. I didn't know which Cook it was for a second. Jerick McKinnon, who I worry about because he's hurt again, by the way. The Patriots' defense.
Yep.
I mean, would you be taking that if? They're
I mean, look at the rookie Winovich that they brought in.
You got Josh.
Yeah.
Josh Gordon on the bench.
No. I couldn't
Shocked.
find him.
somebody took him already. Somebody took
I
him from
couldn't
me.
find.
Graham Gano. See, I have a strict rule with kickers, and why I do not take Graham Gano. If you can't make a 50-yarder, you're not on my team.
Well, see, here's my issue that I.
That's the kicks that wins you in fantasy football.
Here's my issues whenever I come into my kickers. I take my defense second to last round, my kicker last round.
Yeah,
So
I do a lot of that too.
I drop a kicker every single week. I don't care. Whoever's there,
We'll
I'll
get the
pick up,
details
but-
to you, Ralphie.
We'll have negotiations, Ralphie.
It's not going to be much.
No.
This is more. It's going to be more about bragging rights with a little bit of a purse.
But the reason why I handed it over to you is who is my number one benched receiver? The first guy off my bench.
Well, it's N'Keal Harry.
Yes.
But then I see somebody else who is a show favorite. His name created quite a moment with you and Chuck's before you got here.
Oh, the 1, 2, 3.
No, don't say his name. Let's see if he knows.
1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3.
Debo
Yes.
Samuel.
Debo Samuel is on.
Nice.
He look good.
He doesn't even have a profile pic,
No,
too.
he
That's
doesn't.
how under the radar he is.
They should just put the Friday profile.
It should be. Yeah, it's Melvin Gordon, N'Keal Harry, Garoppolo, Burton, Carlos Hyde. I think Carlos Hyde's going to have a good year. Debo, and then Cam Meredith. It's cute with the Jimmy G and Tommy B.
I feel like Jimmy G's playing in Tom's old neighborhood back on the West Coast. I feel like they were meant to be next to each other, so I had to draft.
I look forward to when we can all get together and discuss this. Which, oh, by the way, since we're on the air, I'll tell you, I can't make the draft. I can't make the show the 27th. I have a draft that night. It's my biggest money league. I have to do that.
Is Chuck's back?
No,
Yeah.
possibly.
Oh, he's going to be so rusty.
That's the question mark.
We'll make him back. We'll make him come back.
This is lazy booking.
He's not even on the show.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. This is like, this is Chuck's fucking lazy booking. I mean, no huddle. We'll get more. We have next week too. We'll get into more fantasy next week.
Plenty of time.
No huddle. I know you want to talk about.
Start with Chris first. See if he has anything.
Chris, do you have a no huddle you want to jump in here with?
Not right off the bat.
Okay. Well, think. You get a couple minutes here. So did anybody hear about DJ Cooper, the basketball player?
I did. We talked about it was on our dumbest thing of the week last
Okay.
week on.
So we didn't talk about it. I'm going to mention it
Yes,
later.
please
This is
do.
why. So DJ Cooper, he is a basketball player. Is he international?
Yeah, he's trying to be in FIBA.
Yeah. Okay.
Real quick, before you do that, I got to play the sweeper that's for him. Want me to play the sweeper?
Yeah,
that's for
please.
him? This goes to DJ Cooper. There you go.
I love it. That's Noah, by the way, who you
Yeah.
can hear on The Fix with Mr. Brodo on Wednesday nights at 6 p.m. So this guy had to take a drug test. And when the results came back for his drug test, it came up that he was pregnant
Oh, yeah, I saw this. Yeah.
because he used his girlfriend's urine, which is amazing, by the way.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
I think if you're the
You're suspended until at least June of 2020. But congratulations, you and your girlfriend are pregnant now.
We're now suspended for the next 9 months.
Can you imagine being the person to test that sample and get that result back? Like,
would you like the good news or the bad
like
news?
do you double test that, triple test that?
Well,
I don't
you
even
know
know if
there's
you
a B
can.
sample. There's got to be a B sample.
Oh my God, it's amazing.
I'm surprised it doesn't come up more often. I guess now less now than in the past with the USADA, and they pretty much watch everything that happens. But I'm surprised you don't hear more of this.
Bro, they watch everything. When I went for that job interview in June, I mean, they are practically over your shoulder while you're taking a leak.
I mean, they must not watch everything because somehow somebody got pregnant.
I guess.
Ralph wants to know for this A2D event what food will be there. He wants to know who's catering the event.
Christ, Ralph.
Well, Chrome and the Crumb got to go taste test everything first.
Can the first episode of that be in the pool?
Yes.
Please, as he's coming off the water
Ralph,
slide.
we're going to film our first Chrome and the Crumb episode.
I have a good no huddle for you guys.
Okay.
Who's going to be the standout linebacker this year for the Philadelphia Eagles?
Oh, God, that's a great question.
Who's going to be the man?
I hope it's Zach Brown. For the love of God, I hope so. I have a weird feeling it's going to be Camus, but we're not going to see Camus until like week 6.
I was hoping for him, but yeah, now he's on crutches. Yeah.
I would have to lean to Brown too. By default.
The other guys, it just Gary stinks.
Yeah.
Ethan Gary
not very good.
stinks.
Yeah, people really like him for some reason. I'm not a fan.
Yeah, I think Brown's probably the most likely. I'm not confident in anybody else right now, like 100% yet.
One of the other bold predictions, or it's not. I don't even think it's that bold. It's that I think the first handful of weeks for the defense, it's going to be a real struggle. Like I think that might keep us from winning some games.
Is Jim Schwartz going to blitz this year too?
You know what's so
Our
funny?
corner's going to play, 5 yards up or like actually touch a guy.
There's two, and Chrome. This is why he has the grin because
yeah.
he knows exactly what I'm going to say. There's two very frequent storylines on this show ever since we've started. The one only for 1 year because he was the offensive coordinator for 1 year. Is Jim Schwartz going to blitz? Is he going to blitz too much or not enough? And what the hell is Mike Groh? It's like the two things that like we always talk about during the season we haven't even gotten to yet as a fan base.
No, I'm not
Mike
trying. I'm
Groh.
not trying to get my blood pressure up.
No,
that much
we have
yet.
plenty of time.
I'll wait
Do you
until the
hate Jim
season
Schwartz?
starts. No, I actually like Jim
Yeah,
Schwartz.
I like him.
I think he can be extremely stubborn, but he did show that he can bend last year when he had to. I mean, they had
He
to
has
put the
to.
personnel in, and we talked about it, I think, like a month or two ago. I think a pivotal point for him last year, which saved his job, was the conversation Malcolm Jenkins had, and he said, listen, man, you got to simplify things for these guys. But prior to that, he comes off as a guy who believes that whoever he puts in can get the job done because his scheme is that good. But it's just not that way. Sometimes
It's
you have
not.
to cater it around certain guys' talents. And he finally showed us last year that he can bend. I think he is a very smart defensive coordinator, very smart defensive mind. He has a touch, not fully there, but a touch of the Chip Kelly ego, though, that sometimes he has to get out of his own way. And unlike Chip Kelly, though, he's shown that he can do that. So, no, I do like Jim Schwartz. Mike Groh's a different story. We're going to see what we have this year. But if this team, with the talent this team has, falls on its face, that fucking guy needs to go.
Yep.
And I'm trying to curse less on the show, but that guy needs to fucking go.
Groh's got to go. Triple G.
Groh has got to go. I am not a fan. I was not a fan of last year. Too much RPO bullshit with quarterbacks that aren't suited for that. But yeah.
Just play calling, just everything. Just like, why are you doing certain things at certain times? It's like he would have pulled like a Seahawks thing or like whatever and just threw the ball on the 1 yard line.
Yep.
Like, really? Like, come on.
Yep.
Can't
Yeah.
do it.
I think that he is a better play caller for Nick Foles than he is for Carson Wentz. And I don't understand how you can't understand what you have with Carson Wentz.
Agreed.
Because he ran the offense with that they ran with Nick Foles the previous year, that Foles ran throughout the playoffs, in my opinion, with Carson Wentz last year. And you can't do that. He's a different talent. But we'll see what we have this year. Foles is out of the equation. I think Doug's going to be a lot more hands-on, hopefully, and we'll see how it goes. Anything else for the greater good, gentlemen, before we hop off? I know we wanted to talk about Charlie.
I'll just say one thing, okay?
Yes.
It's always weird celebrating somebody being fired, and I know John Malley was not good at his job. So I don't it's weird, having a parade about a guy being fired because it's a person being fired from his job. With that being said, I'm happy for this reason, not because Charlie's back. When I saw it, did I have a smile on my face? Absolutely, because it's Charlie Manuel. I love the guy. I'm happy today as a Phillies fan because it's the first time the organization has admitted and recognized there's an issue. That's why I'm happy today. Do I think it's going to cause them to go on a magical run of the World Series? No. I'd be honestly surprised if they make the playoffs, to be completely honest with you. Just not the year. But at least this is the first part of the process to admit there's something wrong with not only the coach, the manager, but the system it plays.
I'm going to piggyback off of that because I'm going to tie in where the Cardinals are at because I feel like the Phillies and the Cardinals are in a similar situation where the teams are not hitting, but there was never enough pitching to get you there. The Cardinals the Cardinals have been hitting better than the Phillies. So what do? They go out and fire the assistant hitting coach. Don't address any of the pitching issues that you've had. It's about the assistant hitting coach. And honestly, they have hit better than the Phillies. But that, to me, unlike the Phillies, who have had a lot of really big woes, even more so probably than the Cardinals, I can understand making the move. To me, this is more of a I think Vegas odds as of earlier what I saw were a plus 180 that Charlie finishes the year as the manager.
I wouldn't be upset.
Would not shock me.
I wouldn't be upset.
I think that this is a open and press the red button type of a situation. It's an emergency situation now where it's gut check time. Either Gabe's got to figure it out real quick or Charlie's going to step in for as long as they need him to be there for a very short term.
You think it's just a reacclimation to the team as far as, bring him in as the hitting coach, get more involved with everything, and then that turns the push to get Kapler out of there?
I think real quick, because I know we got to get off the air. I think it's bringing a baseball guy in. I think the over analytics, having a guy there to ground it a little bit, I think will be helpful. And a guy who is one of the greatest offensive minds of the last 25 years, and he really is one of the greatest hitting minds of the last 25 years.
I'll quickly throw this out here, and this is not double, triple. This is not like the source that I brought up to you guys about the Haskins thing.
Yeah.
I was informed that John Middleton made a certain phone call late last night, late 2 nights ago, early yesterday morning. That's what triggered this. I think it's very PR.
Yeah.
And I think it's based off of, especially when the GM said today, it's just for the rest of the year for 44 games that he's going to be there. If it leads to Charlie Manuel being the manager, it's not in their plans right now.
Right.
But this is strictly ownership driven.
And I think if Charlie Manuel is the manager by the end of the year, it's just till the end of the year they will have a new manager in the dugout next year.
Mm-hmm.
But hey, it's Charlie. It's a cool moment.
Yeah,
why not?
good to have him back.
41 in the dugout for a couple more games. Whatever. Good stuff, guys, this week. Chris, appreciate you joining us, brother.
Thanks for having me, man.
Welcome anytime. Kevin.
Can't say I
It's
didn't
all
see that
messed up
coming.
right there.
Mr. Brodo, thank you as always, guys. Thanks to our sponsors, Gibson Mayer, Scanzano Sports, Specialized Physical Therapy. Make sure you check out The Fix and Agree to Disagree, I believe, is going to be on tomorrow. We're not 100% sure.
AM and the PM, we're not sure.
I'm sorry, AM to PM.
The Fix will be on there.
I'm terrible with shows. Yeah, Lazy Booking is not on this week because I know Roscoe's going to be asking in every other show this week.
Next week, though.
It is not on this week. It is back next week after our 1 month hiatus. Lots to talk about there. So until next week, we appreciate you. We'll talk to you soon. Congrats again, Chucks. I hope you're enjoying your honeymoon. We'll talk to you next week.